What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Aladdin, directed by Guy Ritchie. Aladdin is the live-action remake of the classic animated movie from 1992, and I do not like this remake. I am just going to say flat out, I didn't like it. I have very few nice things to say about this movie, because a lot of what I got to say is kind of bad. And it's not just bad as like nitpicking bad. It's bad in the sense that I don't like the direction that they went with this movie. So let me just get the positives out of the way. Positive number one, the overall production design and costume design of this movie, it looks good. I like the look of Agrabah. It looks fantastic in live action. The costumes all look great. For the most part, the performances are okay. To me, the only highlight is Will Smith, but his performance to me brings both a positive and a negative. The positive is of his performance, Will Smith compared to all the rest actually looks like he's enjoying himself and actually looks like he's having fun. And I actually enjoyed the little character arc they gave Genie himself. And I kind of like how he kind of bookends the movie. Um, I don't like the fact that we try to play it off as a twist because anybody with a fully functioning brain could see it coming from the mile away the second you showed your hand, but that is what it whatever. At least Will Smith was not horrible as a genie. He was energetic. He looked like he was having fun, and the Will Smith charisma. Will Smith has such a personality. His charisma can radiate onto the other actors. So, whenever he's on screen with other actors, specifically the actor who plays Aladdin, who is just kind of boring and lacks the charisma of the original Aladdin from the animated movie, who was voiced by Scott Winger. The actor who played Aladdin, he lacks charisma, his own charisma. I'm sorry. Performance-wise, he wasn't bad, but there's a lot of stilted acting on his part. And if you didn't have Will Smith to bounce off of, it would have been hard to watch because there are a lot of scenes where the actor who plays Aladdin, he's just not that good. I'm sorry, he's not good at all. Actually, let's get right to those. Are the only positives I got. Oh yeah, directing wise, Guy Ritchie did an okay job, but there are also moments where it could be a little just spotty. But this cinematography looks nice, so yeah, I can say that. Let's get on to the negatives. Negatives, I already said my Will Smith positives. My Will Smith negative is he kind of falls flat for me as the genie. Now, Robin Williams as the genie was funny because Robin Williams was not trying to be funny. Robin Williams was legitimately funny. And a lot of that comes from Robin Williams already being a comedian and having a background in stand-up comedy and improvisational comedy, so his portrayal as the genie works. For me, Will Smith, they did a lot of the recycled jokes from the original Aladdin movie, and Will Smith to me, his comedy comes across as just not interesting. It's not horrible in a way, but it's nothing really memorable because the majority of Will Smith's lines are kind of lifted from the original movie. But he does have his own original material, but it pales in comparison to the goodness that was Robert Williams' performance. Now, I'm not saying Will Smith did a bad job because, like I said, he's my glowing positive in this movie because he's the only one that has any type of charisma, while everyone else is just a blank sheet of paper. But his performance as a genie, to me, it's a give and take performance. It's good in the sense that Will Smith is the only one that's showing any ounce of charisma and energy. It's also a negative because even when I don't compare him to Robin Williams as the genie, I just don't like the jokes and a lot of the recreated scenes that they didn't really care for him, and I just don't like the new versions of Prince Ali and Friend Like Me. It's just too Will Smithy. It doesn't have it sounds too Will Smith. It's like I'm hearing a Will Smith song. And when you hear it in the original movies, you're not hearing a Robin Williams sing. You're hearing the genie. But in this, maybe it's because Will Smith is just a booming personality. And believe me, in this movie, there are a lot of moments where Will Smith does take a lot of shine away from people because that's just the way it is. With someone like a Will Smith, he's got that kind of charisma to him. So yeah, those are my positives and negatives on Will Smith as a genie. Overall, did not mind him. Another negative. Did not like the way they handled Jasmine in this movie. In the original movie, I like Jasmine's character because she wants to see the world. She wants to be more than what she is, which is a princess of this country. She wants to explore. She wants to see life from a different perspective. I may have missed it, but I didn't get that with this Jasmine. I saw a Jasmine whose whole character was that she wants to be the Sultan. She wants to be in charge. She wants to know why she can't be in charge herself. And to me, that's not Jasmine. That was never Jasmine. Jasmine was never someone who was obsessed with wanting to be in power. You know, she was somebody who wanted to see life from a different set of eyes. They missed the whole point what Jasmine's character is. And I just didn't, it just felt off, felt awkward and clunky. And Naomi Scott, she was okay. She was nothing spectacular. Her performance was so forgettable, and she's a phenomenal looking woman. She's fantastic. She's gorgeous. Acting wise, she has no on screen presence. She doesn't have that commanding authority that the animated version of Jasmine had. I'm sorry. So even if the original Jasmine had the idea to be a sultan, I could at least buy it because she had this independent, commanding presence to her. But the live action Jasmine, to me, when you compare the two, she doesn't have a commanding presence at all. And Naomi Scott just falls flat for me. Speaking of falling flat, the whole romance between Jasmine and Aladdin in this movie is so cringy. Especially when Aladdin's doing the whole Prince Ali thing. It is so cringe watching him try so hard. And in the animated movie, it was funnier. It was funny without being cringe because he's trying so hard. This one, it's just cringy to look. It's just cringe to see this man crash into the iceberg and just drown. And when you watch it as a viewer, it's hard to laugh because it's just like, this is not funny. Why we're doing jokes about dates and cups and nonsense? It's stupid. I hated it so much. It was so dumb. Uh, Speaking of Aladdin, the actor who played Aladdin, listen, Mina Maswad, whatever his name is, he's not horrible, but he does not have any on-screen presence nor on-screen charisma. He just didn't do it for me as Aladdin. Now, if they would have gotten someone like a Riz Ahmed or Dev Patel, I would have. Those actors have credibility to them. They have on-screen presence to them, and I can see either one of those two fitting the role of Aladdin. I understand the whole idea of wanting to cast an unknown, trying to get a new talent out there. But I think in this case, this movie really needed a strong lead, and knowing that Dev Patel and Riz Ahmed already have credentials to them, they would have been a much better choice to anchor this movie as a lead. Because this guy, to me, just the movie relies on him as the lead, and it falls on his weight. He just can't carry the movie, and he's just not interesting. And him and Naomi Scott together, to me, just have no on-screen chemistry. There are no Linda Larkin or Scott Winger from the original movie who have a natural chemistry. These two don't have a natural chemistry. It's cringy chemistry. And the way they meet, and the whole first 5 to 10 minutes of this movie is so rushed. I mean, really, really rushed. We don't even know Jasmine. In the first movie, we get to know Jasmine before she runs away. In this one, we just see her already in the marketplace, not knowing who the hell she is. So that I don't like and then she just starts to lie and says, "Oh, I'm a servant girl." And Jasmine does have a servant girl played by Nassim Pedard, and her character ties into the genie story, which I actually like. It's a nice little love story between those two, which I think is the better part of which I think is the more natural love story of this entire movie, is the love story between Dahlia, Jasmine's servant girl, handmaiden, and the genie with Will Smith. I think those two have a much stronger love story because it's more sweet, and it ties into the beginning of the movie as well, which again you can see coming, but I enjoyed that part for the most part. So the genie's love story I actually like more because it was more subtle. The Aladdin Jasmine stuff I did not like. In this movie, this movie made it so rushed and so cringe, and I just don't buy them. And I didn't really care for a whole new world in this movie. It didn't have the visuals spectacular as the original movie. It just felt very bland. Speaking of very bland, what did you do to Jafar and Iago in this movie? How do you screw up Jafar, one of my favorite Disney villains? You watched the live-action Aladdin remake. This Jafar lacks any intimidation, has no intimidation, he has no presence. The actor himself, he has such a weak voice. He doesn't have that booming presence of a Jonathan Freeman from the animated movies. Where even though I'm not crazy about Return of the Jafar, that movie has a redeeming quality because you have Jonathan Freeman as Jafar, and he has that booming, commanding, just sly, snarky tone to his voice. This guy is just weak. It's weak, and the fact that they tried to parallel him and Aladdin did not work for me at all. Did not buy it. Did not like it. They tried to give Jafar a backstory, and a character like Jafar does not need a backstory. Jafar is evil for the sake of being evil. This movie tried to make Jafar sympathetic by saying, "Oh, I was once like you." I don't like it at all. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it. And just not only that, this Jafar also, he has this motivation to want to start a war to show the strength of Agrabah. Jafar was never somebody who wanted to start a war with other countries. He's somebody who craved power for the sake of power. This one wanted power so he can just show the superiority of his nation. Jafar, that's not Jafar. Jafar is not somebody who is a character who's like that. He's someone who wants personal gain, not somebody who wants to show the superiority of the place he's ruling. Came out of like the whole Jasmine thing comes out of nowhere, and it does not fit their characters at all. I hated it. And Iago in this movie is inconsequential. Iago in the animated movie, he's a fantastic character. He's a funny character. He's got a personality. He goes through a character arc between the two movies. He goes through a character arc. Iago does between the first Aladdin movie and the second Aladdin movie, making him a cool character. This Iago is literally just a bird that will say a couple of words here and there, like rah, rah, rah. Iago and Jafar, complete letdowns, and the whole climax of this movie is a complete letdown too. They pretty much remake the entire, with the exception of Jafar turning into a giant snake, which is actually one of the cool scenes of the original movie. Not in this movie. We skipped Jafar becoming a snake in that great scene. Instead, he makes the wish to become the king, the Sultan of Agrabah, become the sorcerer, then becomes the genie, and it's all rushed. Within like 5 minutes, it's done. Where in like the original movie, it was rushed too, but they drew it out a little bit when Jafar turned into the snake and then made the wish to want to be the genie. At least there was some action going on. This one, nothing at all. And the CG in this movie is kind of spotty. There are moments where it looks good, moments where it looks bad. Yeah. And another thing I didn't care for, the Cave of Wonders. In the original movie, the Cave of Wonders is this illuminating presence. It's essentially a talking cave that actually talks in the original movie. Its lips move. It has a personality. In this movie, the cave just looks like a overgrown nightlight. The eyes blink, and the cave talks without moving its mouth or anything like that. Lame. Don't say you want to go for realism in a movie that has a talking parrot, a flying carpet, and a damn genie. Realism does not work when you factor in those things, because genies and flying carpets aren't real. So if you can't make a talking cave work in live action with the technology of today, you are completely stupid. And it just makes this movie completely just boring and lifeless. And that's my biggest gripe with this movie. It's just lifeless. It doesn't have that magic spontaneity of the original movie. It's just a corporate shell out just to say, hey, here. And of course, the people who grew up on the original movie like me are going to say, oh, this was fantastic, we love it. But me, when it comes to these movies, I put nostalgia to the side and I look at this movie for what it has to offer. And me personally, the live action Aladdin movie has to it offers absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. It's got a couple of redeeming qualities to it here and there. Will Smith, again, Will Smith overall, to me, is my favorite part of the movie. His little stuff with Nassim Peddard works for me. The production design and the whole spectacle, grand scope of this movie looks fine. But this movie's got way too many problems for me to overlook. So, I'm going to have no choice but to give this movie a 4 out of 10. Will Smith, the production design, for the most part, the cinematography and direction is all solid. The rest of this movie, It falls flat on its face when you compare it to when you compare it to the original Aladdin movie, and just by itself, it just didn't do anything for me. 4 out of 10 for the live action Aladdin movie. Alright, so those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.